Greetings, movie enthusiasts. In today's installment, we're delving into the whimsical world of Symbol, a 2009 comedy fantasy mystery that's sure to tickle your funny bone and engage your imagination. Buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through this captivating film. And yes, spoilers lie ahead, so proceed with caution. Our story begins with a peculiar awakening. A Japanese gentleman, donning vibrant pajamas, finds himself in a stark white room, devoid of any doors, windows, or visible ceilings. Intrigued, he approaches one of the walls and discovers something most unusual: a protrusion, resembling a male anatomical feature, extending from the smooth surface. This oddity piques his curiosity, and he is drawn to explore this peculiar environment further. With curiosity piqued, the man pokes and prods at the unusual protrusion, eventually pressing its tip. This triggers a bizarre occurrence, as hundreds of giggling baby angels suddenly appear, emerging from the floors and walls. They remain visible for only a fleeting moment, before disappearing just as mysteriously as they came. However, they leave behind an intriguing transformation. The walls and floors now bear numerous protrusions resembling male members. This, we learn, is the learning phase. Overwhelmed by the surreal events, the man reacts with fear and desperation, crying out for help. His pleas go unanswered, and he resorts to experimenting with the various buttons, each press resulting in a random object appearing in the room, ranging from a humble toothbrush to a grandiose vase. Intrigued by his discovery, the man experiments further. Pressing the same button twice yields additional chopsticks, and he soon realizes that the duration of his presses influences the quantity of the objects dispensed. However, his amusement turns to surprise when he inadvertently activates the adjacent button, causing a small cart to emerge and bump into his legs. The next button he presses transforms into a buttock that releases gas directly onto his face, causing him a mix of surprise and disgust. As time passes, the room becomes cluttered with a myriad of random objects. The man, growing hungry, throws a ball at the wall, inadvertently pressing a button that delivers sushi. Elated at the prospect of food, he quickly realizes the absence of soy sauce. His requests to his unseen captors go unanswered, as usual. Frustrated, he resorts to pressing the buttons repeatedly, hoping for his desired condiment. Reluctantly accepting his soy sauce-less fate, the man indulges in the sushi, finding it delicious. However, his frustration resurfaces when he finishes the last piece, and upon pressing the button, finally receives the long-awaited soy sauce. Angrily brushing the bottle aside, he redirects his attention to another button, which presents him with a pair of vintage 3D glasses. Curious, he dons the glasses, and is delighted to perceive a baby angel pointing at his nether regions. Convinced he has uncovered a solution, he eagerly presses the corresponding button, only to be met with a countdown culminating in a colossal buttock descending from above and releasing a potent blast of gas. Time passes, and the man finds solace in manga, having read 5 entertaining volumes. However, his quest for the 6th volume leads him on a frustrating journey, as he instead receives the 7th. Confused and exasperated, he experiments with other buttons, successfully obtaining the 8th and 9th volumes, but still missing the elusive 6th. Desperate for a solution, the man experiments with the final button, and to his surprise, it reveals a hidden door concealed within the wall. Elated, he celebrates this discovery, but his enthusiasm causes him to forget the exact location of the exit button. He randomly presses buttons, each yielding surprising results: an African tribesman sprinting across the walls, a sudden downpour of water, and finally, the correct button that opens the door. However, his initial attempts to reach the exit are thwarted as the door closes on his face. With growing frustration, he realizes that the door remains ajar only as long as the protrusion's tip is depressed. Determined to escape, he devises various strategies, assuming a runner's stance and pressing the button with his foot, attempting to hit it with a flash of water from a distance, and even trying to pull it with a flash of water, all to no avail. He experiments with alternative methods, such as tugging on the protrusion with a jumping rope and directing the airflow from a fan toward it, but none prove successful. In a last-ditch effort, he formulates a plan to press the button and then quickly push the protrusion with the cart. But after several unsuccessful attempts, he is forced to concede defeat. Acknowledging his inability to control the unpredictable mechanism, realizing the necessity of keeping the button's tip depressed, he places the large vase on top of it. However, the button's resilience causes it to gradually return to its original position. This prompts the man to conclude that he must fill the vase with a substance heavy enough to prevent it from returning to its upright position. His initial attempt involves utilizing the water button, But despite his efforts to redirect the water flow, it invariably drenches him without filling the vase. Undeterred, he devises a plan to fill the vase with sushi, only to find that the weight renders the vase immovable. The man encounters a challenge as the vase's narrow neck prevents him from reaching inside with his hand. He resorts to using chopsticks to painstakingly remove the sushi piece by piece. Finally, he manages to lighten the vase enough to lift it with great effort. Carefully, he carries the vase closer to the buttons, only to set it down again momentarily, as he struggled to recall the correct button. In his trial and error, the accidental summon of an African tribesman results in a collision that cracks and breaks the vase. This setback pushes the man to the brink, and amid his frantic yelling, he finds the right button and attempts to cover it with sushi, to no avail. The small protrusion stubbornly reappears through the rice. Undeterred, he tries covering the button with tape, and even adds a steel plate for extra weight, but his efforts prove futile. After a much-needed respite, during which he takes painkillers for the bruises inflicted by the door, and enjoys a nap, the man readies for oral hygiene. However, his attempt to procure water by pressing a button goes awry, summoning a rope instead. This unexpected development boosts his spirits, as it presents a new strategy. He opens the door and uses the rope to swing across the room, ensuring he reaches the exit before it closes. Disappointment greets the man as he discovers the door behind the false wall is locked. He retreats back into the room, narrowly avoiding the closing door, which still manages to clip him on his way out. Frustrated, he kicks the wall, inadvertently pressing a button that reveals a floating key in the room center. However, similar to the door, the key vanishes when the button returns to its original position. Faced with this challenge, the man must devise a strategy to keep both the key accessible and the door ajar. His first task is to locate the correct button, as he had lost track of it during his previous outburst. By estimating the vicinity of his foot when he kicked the wall, he makes an educated guess and presses a button, only to be greeted by a barking dog emerging from the wall. The next button yields a similar result, but fortune favors him on the third try. Maintaining his gaze on the button, he walks backward and retrieves a piece of sushi fish, which he uses as a marker for the correct button. However, upon pressing it, the dough reappears. Undeterred, he quickly locates the button again and proceeds with his plan, summoning the rope and swinging across the room to access the various buttons. As he descends to the floor, his eyes land on a plunger he had acquired from one of the buttons, sparking an idea for overcoming his dilemma. He could use the plunger to push against the wall and extend his reach. After an initial failed attempt, he perfects the technique, skillfully combining the rope swing with a plunger-assisted push to press the button for the key, retrieve it, activate the door, and dash through before it closes. With urgency, he inserts the key into the lock and turns it swiftly. However, his hopes are dashed when he discovers a second lock requiring a 3-digit code. Frustrated, he exits the room, only to be struck by the closing door once more. In a fit of anger, he throws the plunger at the opposite wall, inadvertently summoning the African tribesman. As the man observes the tribesman's walk, he notices 3 numbers painted on his forehead, realizing they must be the combination to the lock. Determined, he repeats the rope swinging and jumping routine 3 times, each time entering a different number. On the 3rd attempt, he remains by the door, struggling to open it due to it being stuck. He pushes with all his might, finally succeeding. But as he opens the door, the panel behind him closes, trapping him in a confined space that doesn't allow him to fully open the door. Devastated, he sinks to the floor, tears streaming down his face as he reminisces about the fun he had with the objects obtained from the buttons. He had been a prisoner too, but at least he had room to move and find entertainment. Now, he regrets not appreciating what he had when he had it. Suddenly, a gentle breeze caresses his face, drawing his attention to a crack in the left wall. Without hesitation, he pushes open the hidden panel and escapes, finding himself in a mysterious hallway floating in a vast pitch-black expanse. He runs endlessly toward an exit, and when he finally reaches a room, his appearance has changed noticeably, his hair has grown longer, and the colors of his pajamas have faded. This new room is also empty, save for a set of clothes that appear as soon as he enters. Instead of baby angels, adult angels emerge from the walls, disappearing and leaving behind their members to serve as buttons. This, he realizes, is the practice phase. Meanwhile, in a city in Mexico, little Antonia's family is concerned about the father, a wrestler known as Escargoman, whose unusually taciturn behavior has them worried. Escargoman's wife attributes his somber demeanor to the age gap between him and his upcoming opponent. But his father-in-law, a wise man, reminds her that experience outweighs youth. Escargoman is picked up by his daughter's sister, Karen, who drives him to the wrestling ring early so he can prepare. He changes into his wrestling attire and offers a prayer to the Virgin. Meanwhile, at school, Antonio faces bullying from classmates who ridicule him for betting on Escargoman, calling him a weak loser. As the match draws near, Sister Karen once again offers transportation, picking up Antonio and their grandfather and rushing them to the event. Karen doesn't stay for the match, but Antonio and his grandfather manage to secure seats just as the show is about to begin. The arena buzzes with anticipation as the first team, the Northern Toughs, comprised of Super Demon and Tequila Joe, enters the ring. They are soon followed by Escargoman and his partner, Silver Eagle, who go by the team name Kiss Me A Lot. Silver Eagle takes the lead for their team, starting off brilliantly, but he is quickly overpowered when the Northern Toughs decide to gang up on him instead of engaging in a one-on-one fight. They taunt Escargoman, urging him to join the fray, but he refuses until Silver Eagle employs a clever tactic, causing Super Demon and Tequila Joe to collide with each other, providing an opportunity for Escargoman to escape unscathed. Despite his efforts, Escargoman is quickly overpowered as well. Just as his opponent is about to strike him with a chair, a magical intervention occurs. The man in the mysterious room presses a button, causing Escargoman's neck to extend miraculously, and with a powerful headbutt, he knocks out both opponents. In the mysterious room, an unusual silence prompts the man to pay attention. He repeatedly presses the same button, resulting in Escargoman knocking out Silver Eagle, the referee, Antonio, and even the bell itself. Perplexed by the lack of noticeable consequences, the man begins experimenting with different buttons. One button causes a metal singer to breathe fire over the audience during a Los Angeles concert. Another leads to a Russian magician's trick going awry, failing to make his assistant disappear. A third button makes a man in China bark at his own dogs. On the brink of giving up, the man notices a faint light from above and realizes, unlike the previous room, this one has no ceiling, allowing him a glimpse of angels flying in the distance. He devises a novel approach, deciding to use the protrusions as hand and footholds to climb the walls. His plan proves successful, and with each grasp of a button, he triggers extraordinary events on Earth, from flowers blooming to an elephant's demise. As he ascends higher, the effects of his actions become more intricate and far-reaching, influencing not only nature, but also the course of humanity, from the mundane to the monumental, such as toasters and moon landings. By the time he reaches the summit, his hair and beard have grown considerably, and he finds he no longer needs to cling to the wall. He has acquired the ability to float, just like the angels. Drawing upon all the knowledge and experience gained from the previous rooms, he embraces his role as a god, deliberately shaping humanity's greatest hits instead of randomly pressing buttons. When he is finished, the walls have transformed into a feather-lined enclosure, guiding him toward a radiant portal that leads to the final room. This chamber bears the continents on its walls and features an enormous button shaped like a member. This, he realizes, is the future phase. Be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you can enjoy more captivating recaps and film analyses. Thank you for joining me on this symbolic journey through cinema.
Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. This helps us to continue. Our content is diverse and suitable for all categories.